who was your first guy? Because you kind of asked me to represent you, but that's not really my thing. So I had a guy that was
Tommy Rojas.
Tommy Rojas.
Tommy Rojas.
And Tommy Rojas was good for getting him started, was a solid guy, but then he got big enough that he needed the biggest guys at that time. And everything worked out. His career took off. He did his thing. And he's been that man all along. You know, he really has. This is one good man.
Yeah. This is incredible.
Yeah, he got me my big break and Pride, man. He did that. He did that for me. He didn't have the shit he did for me. He didn't have to do it.
So let me ask you a question.
But he earned it. I mean, it wasn't like I gave it to somebody just to give it to somebody. This is a guy that went out, needed it, earned it, and didn't expect anything. Yeah. I mean, when you have somebody like that, it's just there's so few kids today that come up that aren't, you owe me this or you owe me that. This guy was a guy that was hungry for an opportunity, and he was a star in the making from the get-go.
And
I wish I had the money to keep him. Yeah, I just didn't have the money to keep him. I had to let him go. You know,
I came back.
He did, and he fought for me for $2,500 when he was making $50,000 a fight, and fought a guy that was pretty damn tough. Sean Gray could fight.
That was one of my toughest motherfucking fights.
His toughest fights were in King of the Cage between Sean Gray and Rob Smith from Wisconsin. Yeah. Hey, you talk about a guy who slammed every guy in the sport. Rob Smith slammed him. He slammed Rob Smith 2-3 times, but I think Rob Smith slammed him once or twice too. It was an amazing fight in Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino.
Why would you go back and fight him if you were already getting paid $50K to fight in Pride?
Because that's how I am. This is a man. He gave me my big break.
Do you see this? I hope the audience is listening to this and understanding that this is why when they talk about where the icons of modern day MMA, they don't have this attitude or this love for the game and for people. They care about the dollars, they care about business, but sometimes in life you got to have a good balance. Yep. So you're in Pride, you're making $50K a fight. You go, you know what? I got to take care of the guy who started me. You call me and you say, I want to come back to King of the Cage and I'll fight for $2,500.
I had my first pay-per-view show in Reno. Yngwie Malmsteen played the guitar for the national anthem up front. One of the top guitar players in the world. And he put on an unbelievable fight. Severin was on that card, and Akira Shoji from Japan. There's a lot of big names on that card. Nobody bigger than him.
Yeah, honestly, that guy was tough. I didn't think Terry would give me nobody that tough. That dude was strong as fuck.
Well, let me tell you, he didn't show that being tough in all of his King of the Cage fights. But when you're fighting somebody who now is considered the elite level of the sport, every fight he has is somebody's Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's their Super Bowl to fight, so they're training. You know what I mean? He was not that tough of a guy, but he was that night. Let me tell you.
I bumped into him at Anthony Pettis' show like a couple months ago.
Very cool. Yeah, he's from Alabama. You know,
he's from Alabama.
Yeah,
I think we was in.
Super good dude.
Super good dude.
Super good dude.
So Rampage, you talked about to one of our past guests that you would do these tune-up fights. You were telling them. Do you remember who you were talking to about this?
You know my memory's bad. I was telling somebody about the warm-up fights.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
I actually
we do so many podcasts.
Yeah, we do so many. Hey, Loco, do you remember who he was talking to about warm-up fights? All right. So you were talking about warm-up fights. This guy might know. Vinny, who was Rampage talking to about warm-up fights? Who was he talking to about warm-up fights recently? Paulo Costa.
Okay,
there we go. That's why it's important I say the name. So Paulo Costa said, man, what an incredible idea to do these warm-up fights in a gym before you go fight in a UFC or a Pride or in King of the Cage. Were you using King of the Cage as a way to warm up for Pride fights? Is this the secret?
No.
I think his fights were tougher in King of the Cage than they were in Pride. Yeah. Like the Pride had the image of having the toughest guys in the world, and they had all of them.
That's what I can't understand.
He fought in King of the Cage, he fought some super tough guys.
Bro, I can't understand the record. You were okay with maybe potentially losing or something?
Yeah, I didn't care about losing stuff back then. I never cared about losing.
If he'd have lost, I'd have found him the money. I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there through the end of the second round thinking, fuck, how am I going to get him to make 150 grand a year? If he loses this fight and Pride doesn't like it, because I can't take that away from him, regardless of the nice thing he did. Bro. I can't let that go away. So there would have been, I would have found a way.
But in my mind, I know Pride, they don't care if you win or lose.
It's about performance.
As long as you put on an exciting fight.
And it's really what it should be. Yeah. Because in the end, it's all performance. When UFC was first taken over by Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, they were putting the fights people wanted to see on the underground together, and they were getting some shitty fights.
Really?
Because guys were, when they paid, when they were cutting guys for losing all the time in the early days, that was the problem. You should cut a guy for winning and winning ugly. I cut Tony Johnson in the middle of his fight in Las Vegas because he was so freaking boring. And I told him, listen, I don't want to see you lay on somebody and paw away at him anymore. I can't sell it. It doesn't help me. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. Next fight, exact same thing. Before the third round, I said, do what you want to do, but this is his last fight here. I cut him in the corner. You know, I was furious.
That's the type of promoter I would be.
Yeah.
I don't like that
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, listen, all I expect somebody to do is to honor their word, and I'm going to honor mine 100% of the time. And life is so easy when you do that.